law changes since that time as well that may or may not.
So that's
impact
something
our
we
ability
would need to
do
kind of figure out as this process plays out with this new directive is can we send bipartisan teams outside? Because that could be potentially one way to stop parking spots being used up. If we have staff outside that could even have the forms on a clipboard,
Right.
that they could fill out the form from their car. We could take the form inside every hour, whatever the case may be, so that we're not taking up parking spots for that particular aspect.
Well, I think that Summit County Board of Elections is very efficient, and you guys are awesome, and you're great to the residents. I've witnessed that myself throughout, all these years, and, I want to say thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Bethany, I believe you had a question too.
Thank you. So as I'm looking at the map, it looks like people can drive on either side of the drop box and use and enter their ballot on either side of the drop box. Is that correct?
That's going to have to change based on the new directive in order to make the license plates of the cars or the cars visible. We'll have to rotate the box. It's a little bit different than what you see here, and only placing it through the driver's side for driving around, but you could still walk up and place it in.
Two quick follow-ups. I think I already know the answer to one. We get any money for this from the state, this little special change up at the last minute? I'm going to guess no. No? Great. My second question, and I know this is at this point a long shot, but the Secretary of State has asked the legislature to come back and actually ban drop boxes for this election. Do we have an out in this lease should that happen? Or are we just going to be out the money too? on
Well,
that?
it's the most of the money that's going to be spent on this are the improvements to that parking lot. To place that drop box there, we've got to put a concrete pad in. We've got to we have to put that ADA compliant sidewalk to get into the parking lot.
Cameras.
Yeah, we have to place cameras and potentially lighting. I don't know if there's been any more discussion on lighting. And then we have to take all that back out. We also have to do some restriping. And we promised the landlord for their trouble. When we take the concrete pad back out, we would recoat the parking lot. So we're putting quite a bit of money into a one-time expense because, as we all here know, we're moving to a new location after this. But we did not want to end up where we were in 2020 with these long lines, traffic jams, and again, it's still a compact area. So this is, yeah, if the Secretary of State bans them in the next couple of weeks, then we'll save that money. But if not, we got to spend it on these improvements, which may be for naught.
And Councilwoman, it's worth noting that the Secretary of State did review the plan and gave their blessing
Yeah,
over.
they came out and walked the site with us. And,
Delightful.
a month and a half ago and gave us a blessing on it.
Do we have any other
Mr.
questions?
Ford, I believe. Are you okay, Aaron?
Aaron?
So the lease only applies to the actual concrete parking lot, right? So the county rule against temporary signs on Board of Elections property is only going to apply to the actual parking lot?
The parking lot would be is being considered an expansion of the Board of Elections campus.
Right, but what about the grass all around it?
The grass between the two buildings, you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Or in front.
Yeah. Are we putting fencing? Greg just said in planning, so I guess we're putting fencing along there too.
Yeah, what we had talked about was the little island, potentially putting fencing there, and that only just recently came up because I had a memory of 2 years ago in 2022, we had cars that parked in that island and kind of threw a party. It was for voting. Their hearts were in the right place. But my concern was if we had people on that island stopping cars trying to pass out campaign literature, that could become a problem. So we did talk about this past week, trying to kind of barrier off that island. But as for the grass that's in front of the parking lot or the asphalt on the 450 property, the grass between the asphalt parking lot and Grant Street. I don't know how that,
I believe that would, if it's not included in the lease, would it remain the private property of the landlord who would have the power to restrict its use?
Yeah, this is another conversation. Last week, we met with the mayor's office. Chris Luddle was in the meeting. We talked about this. We talked about the need from APD for Exchange Street to make sure that is kept open. The potential need for additional traffic flow support from APD. But we also talked about bicycle racks. And Chris's, the conversation with Chris was, because the marathon is essentially a week and a half before early voting starts, that they could instruct their folks to bring bicycle racks directly from the marathon route to the board. So that's something we need to follow up on. It may give us some more options too in terms of how we want to kind of cordon all this off.
Yeah, my concern here is that we have a county rule saying you can't put up temporary political signs on Board of Elections property, but we're going to have a parking lot with a drop box that's covered, it's encircled by land that people can put signs on, right?
Right.
And as I recall, I think this is a pretty hot spot for political signs.
I'll talk to our law director and follow up.
Ms. McKinney?
Thank you, Madam President. So are there any changes then to early in-person voting?
no. The only thing that'll be different for this election will just be the expanded hours because it's a presidential general. That's a little different than other years, but other than that, no changes with in-person absentee.
Do you, Ms. Rogers?
How many cameras? I see one. Will there be more than one camera?
So we would have 2 cameras on the Dropbox specifically, one that is a part of a requirement for us to quote-unquote live stream, so that anybody can watch from home for the Dropbox, and then we have an internal camera feed as well. That's our own CCTV. Yes, that's a requirement.
That is
Wow. Are there
Hey.
any further comments?
Lance, just a whole nother topic, but obviously related to the election. Our $1.4 million piece of printing equipment
Yes.
has been installed. It's live. If you could give council an
Yeah.
update on that.
So this is our large-scale commercial printing equipment that you all were gracious enough to approve probably, about 8 months ago? And so we have the final piece of equipment actually just got set up in our building this past week, which is the which is the sorter. So that will help us receive the absentee envelopes more quickly. The printer and the inserting machine have both been installed at Talmadge Avenue. We went through some quality control and training this past week. We'll still have training to do on the sorting machine this coming week, but all 3 pieces of equipment are up and running and will be ready to use for this election, which will be great. Everything works at tremendous speed. So I was talking to one of our IT guys today. The printer, for instance, prints about 1,000 voters' ballots per hour. So that's
And that's with 2-page ballots.
That's with a 2-sheet ballot, which was what we'll see for this coming November. When in comparison, before, one of our smaller desktop printers that we'd print ballots on, it would take probably about 20 minutes to print 50 ballots on one printer. So the speed that our throughput will be significantly increased, which will allow us to have greater turnaround time in getting ballots out more quickly and getting ballots into the system more quickly.
Ms. Rogers?
I understand you said Talmadge Avenue?
So Talmadge Avenue will have our printer and the inserter, along with a server room so that we can operate our mail-out operations from Talmadge.
Okay.
Everything else will still be our campus as currently is with 470 and 500. So we will just use Talmadge Avenue to print and mail out those ballots. There will be no other transacting of Board of Elections business out there for this election.
How
And-
many people are you bringing in as extra staff for this election?
So we're up to, I think, around 60 part-time staff at the moment. We'll kind of have to feel our way through this as a comparison to previous elections. I mean, going back 4 years ago, we probably had about 120 to 150 part-timers is where we topped out. I would say probably closer to that 150 number. Right now, we've been able to kind of adjust how we're operating. So right now, we're, just about a month out from ballots being mailed. Traditionally, at this point, we would have probably 4 to 6 bodies in, manually inserting all of just the inserts and the envelopes and everything, which we don't have to do that. So we're able to shift those bodies from doing that process to actually kind of performing a pre-ballot audit, so that, for instance, as we're processing our absentee applications, if somehow 2 of them got stuck together, we may not necessarily know that until much later in the process. We're able to catch that much earlier because we're able to reallocate our resources. So we're at about 60 now. We'll still climb up closer to 100 part-timers by the time it's all said done, maybe a little bit more, but I don't think we'll get up to the 150 number we've had in the past.
We have Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you. And when does early voting start?
First day of early voting is October 8th.
And those part-timers, for those of you that don't, those part-timers, for those of you who don't know that, are 50% Democrats and 50% Republicans. It's bipartisan, and I don't think you would mind me saying, if you know anybody that that would like a nice part-time job for the next couple of months to earn some money for Christmas, you should send them up there to the Board of Elections.
Absolutely.
I'm sure if,
Certainly.
yeah, we, when I was there 2004, I mean, we'd hire anybody with a pulse walk
So
in the door.
the-
Of course, we were going 24/7,
Yeah.
putting the registrations on.
The-
But,
the
and
part-
how much does it pay now?
We're at $17.11 an hour.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
The part-time workers, how long are they employed? And is it like after the provisionals come in?
No,
or-
so I mean, like you say, we're up to 60 part-timers at the moment. I mean, throughout the whole year, we've had some semblance of part-timers. We were actually reassessing every polling location over the summer. So we kept a few more part-timers than we normally do in a year like this. But we're at 60 now. We'll continue to climb, like say, closer to that 100 number. But yeah, we're always needing bodies, so I appreciate you mentioning that, Councilman
And then
Schmidt.
after
Yep.
the election,
What do you say, 17 an hour?
yeah.
17 an hour? Okay.
And we did get our directive for the official canvas, so our official canvas has moved up a little bit this year as well. We traditionally get 21 days. This year we're getting, 15. 15 is our number that we have this year, so that will expedite the official canvas, and so that'll cause a few more weekend hours and overtime hours after we get through the election as we perform all of our reconciliation.
Okay. Are there any further comments? Liz, are you okay with this? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Next is 2024-251, Phil Montgomery to address council.
Thank you, Madam President. Phil Montgomery from the Executive Department of Finance and Budget. We have before council this cycle's appropriation legislation. Starting on page 1, the ADM board moved the cash out of their operating account into their capital account for the construction of their 2 facilities, and they left $1 million off. So we need to let them transfer another $1 million from their operating account into the capital account. So that's on there for that. The next one is a contract for capital projects with 4 Point Architecture for the parking deck. The next one is appropriating funds for sanitary sewer services for change order number 3 that was previously approved by council. On to the next page, we have a new capital project for the sanitary sewer services department, also previously approved by council. And then the second one on there is the design for that same project. The last one is appropriating funds for an insurance claim that the county will get reimbursed for to be able to process that expenditure. The third page, we have 2 new grants for public safety under EMA. And on the last page, we have a small adjustment for the sheriff and a change order number 2 for the engineer. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Mr. Donofrio, you okay with this? Yes. Okay. I apologize, but before we move forward, Dr. Jadala would like to address council for 3 minutes. If you would like to come on up. You got 3 minutes. I know how to say your last name.
Hello all, sorry to bother you, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. The reason why I'm here is I haven't heard back. We had come a few months ago about a NECMA resolution and a Remembrance Day, and I didn't hear back from anybody. And I'm pretty sure you guys get all my emails that I send out to most of you. And I just got back from Palestine a couple weeks ago, and I can't tell you that obviously I was in the West Bank. They wouldn't let us in Gaza to help our friends and family there. We went there and we helped, and we were in refugee camps, and we gave as much aid as we could. Unfortunately, I had to leave a little earlier because they told us to evacuate the area, and obviously you know why if you've seen the videos and images of some of the refugee camps. So now the ones in the West Bank and the Northern West Bank are being demolished. Innocents are being killed. In fact, one of the refugee camps we served, which was the Amrati refugee camp, the day after we left, a 16-year-old was killed. Apparently he said a 16-year-old man. I don't understand how he's a man at 16. But now they've gone and destroyed refugee camps, and the government there wants to include it as part of their campaign. I've talked to my Jewish friends and colleagues here. They're abhorred. They think it's important what they're seeing. This does not represent Judaism. This does not represent what they are. This does not represent who we are. To have a young American who's there protesting an occupation, trying to save the people's villages there, being shot in the head by a sniper. And we have vigils for our poor Israeli brothers and sisters that have died unnecessarily. But that's also at the hands of that government there. They they have other ideas and intentions. And you look at the streets in Israel, they're protesting against their government. They know what's going on. They know this is horrible. They would not want this to befall them. All I want is we've tried to be respectful of you all. We want an education campaign. I've been to the Holocaust Remembrance events here. They're wonderful. But this is what it's supposed to remind us of. I've talked to our mayor, and I've talked to our mayor's staff. Nanette Pitt has said she's been to the West Bank. She's been to Hebron. She's also been through apartheid South Africa. And she told me, she goes, Dr. Jadal, what I've seen in the West Bank is worse than the apartheid I ever witnessed in South Africa. I think you guys see the news. There's leadership there that's horrible. Unfortunately, there's a group of people that elected that leadership into office, and most of it's made up of the settlers, which according to the ICJ, as you know, has ruled once again and agreed with our government that it's a legal settlement and illegal occupations. We're not talking about punishing a people, but we don't want to punish Iranians because of what their government does, but yet we have sanctions against them because we feel that, hey, they may be involved in behavior that we don't agree with. So why is it that we cannot put pressure on a government here that is using our weaponry to eliminate a group of innocent people? And I apologize also. I just need to hear from somebody. I'm just begging for help. That's all I'm asking for. It's affected our friends. Now it's affecting my family directly over there. Please, I beg of you guys. This is what they talk about with the Holocaust. When they ask, what did people do? Why didn't they do anything? This is what's happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There are no late filings. Routine legislation found on pages 6 through 7. There are no second readings. There are no third readings. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilwoman Gloria Rogers.
Madam President, may I ask that we keep in our thoughts and prayers the family of Nick Costanderas, our former colleague who passed away a few weeks ago.
Right, I was going to say
Oh,
something.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Led by Councilwoman Gloria Rogers, followed by a moment of silence. And again, if we could keep the family of Mr. Costanderas in our prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hyam,
Here.
Mr. Donofrio, Mr. Cajun, Ms. Dickinson,
Here.
Mr. Ford,
Here.
Mr. Wilhite, Ms. Darrow,
Here.
Ms. Rogers,
Here.
Ms. McKinney,
Here.
Ms. Walters.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes, August 19, 2024?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the minutes for August 19, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions for council. M062, 2024, a motion of council confirming the reappointment of Colleen Kelly to the Child Fatality Review Board.
I have a motion on M062-2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
First readings, 2024-248, a resolution authorizing the executive to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to authorize the executive to execute contracts as required to accept grant funding in an amount not to exceed $639,520.80 with a local match not to exceed $426,347.20 for a total estimated amount not to exceed $1,065,868 to fund the Mudbrook Sanitary Emergency Repair Project located in the city of Cuyahoga Falls and Council District 3 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services Emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-248.
I have a motion to suspend and adopt 2024-248 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2024-250, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a lease agreement with Indus Pad Limited Liability Company, subject to the approval of the Board of Control for the lease of approximately 26,000 square feet of the front parking lot of the building located at 450 Grant Street in the city of Akron in Council District 4 for a 3-month term from 9/1/24 to 12/1/24 for a total amount not to exceed $5,000 for the length of the agreement for the Summit County Board of Elections emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-250.
I have a motion to suspend and adopt 2024-250 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2024-251, a resolution appropriating funds in order to meet projected expenditures for the balance of 2024 as set forth in Exhibit A for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-251.
I have a motion to suspend and adopt 2024-251 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2024-252, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with InfoSyn Incorporated for sanitary sewer utility billing services for a 2-year term with one option to renew for an additional 2-year term in an amount not to exceed $285,966.82 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services emergency. 2024-253, a resolution declaring the week of October 1st through 7th, 2024 as Stormwater Awareness Week in Summit County, recognizing the effects of stormwater runoff on the infrastructure and environment for the executive emergency. 2024-254, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute an updated Summit County Intergovernmental Memorandum of Understanding for job creation and retention and tax revenue sharing, and encouraging communities throughout Summit County to sign the same for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development emergency. 2024-255, a resolution accepting the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council regarding numerous enterprise zone agreements in Summit County, located in the city of Cuyahoga Falls and Twinsburg Township and Council Districts 1 and 3 for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development emergency. 2024-256, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Shaw Integrated Solutions, Incorporated, at state term pricing for replacement of carpet for the Domestic Relations Annex to the courthouse in an amount not to exceed $93,771.22 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services, Physical Plants Division, Emergency. 2024-257, a resolution authorizing the executive to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the University of Akron on behalf of the Sheriff's Office concerning the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy for the executive emergency. 2024-258, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute agreements with various Summit County public safety answering points for the AT&T Vesta hosted call handling system for the Executive's Department of Public Safety Emergency. 2024-260, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of Change Order Number 1 to a temporary assistance to needy families agreement with Family and Community Services Incorporated, now known as Access Point Community Health Center Incorporated, for homeless prevention services from 10/1/23 through 9/30/24 and in an amount not to exceed $280,000 for a cumulative increase of 40% for a total amount not to exceed $980,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services Emergency. 2024-261, a resolution declaring the month of October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Summit County, recognizing survivors, loved ones lost to breast cancer, and caregivers that supported individuals throughout their battles, reaffirming the need for early detection and a cure for breast cancer, and encouraging residents to wear pink on October 18, 2024 for the Council and the Executive Emergency. 2024-262, a resolution declaring the month of October 2024 as Safe Sleep and SIDS Awareness Month, highlighting the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, among infants, the importance of safe sleep practices, and reducing SIDS and uplifting families with newborns for the Executive Emergency. 2024-263, a resolution declaring October 7, 2024 as North American First Peoples Day in Summit County, honoring the history and culture of Native Americans, acknowledging the efforts to preserve this history in the United States, in the state of Ohio, and in Summit County, and encouraging residents to join in the acknowledgement for the executive emergency. 2024-264, a resolution declaring the week of October 7th through 11th, 2024 as Digital Inclusion Week in Summit County, recognizing the importance of internet access and digital literacy, and reaffirming the county's commitment to digital equity for all Summit County residents for the executive emergency. 2024-265, a resolution declaring the month of October 2024 as National Arts and Humanities Month in Summit County for the executive emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt the routine legislation found on pages 6 through 7.
I have a motion to suspend and adopt the routine legislation found on pages 6 through 7. On the suspension, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And without that, we're adjourned.